All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, the bonus to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. In today's lesson, I want to go over Galatians, the 3rd chapter, in particular, the 28th verse, to try to give you some understanding of the scripture. Because what you have today is you have these so-called Christians that would take this verse and put a twist to it. All right? So let's read this. Let's read it real quick. The book of Galatians, chapter 3, verse 28. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female. For ye are all one in a Mashiach Yahushai. Okay? So the Christians they will acknowledge that the Jews, okay, in the scripture are Israelites. But then when they get to the Greek, they'll apply all nations with the Greek, you see, which this is far from the truth. Okay, now I want to ask you so-called Christians this: if the Greeks were talking about heathens, if this is speaking of who you say this is speaking of, right, dealing with the Greek, well, wouldn't these Greeks only apply to one nation of people? Because if it say Greek, how can you apply this to all nations just because it say Greek? How can you apply when you see this term Greek here with all nations? Wouldn't it just be one nation of people? The Edomites, right? But we know that is far from the truth. Okay, now let's go in a blue letter and I'll show you where they get this from. So we go into this word Helen. In the Greek is Helen. Okay, so let's see what the definition they give you. It says Greek either by nationality, whether a native of the mainland or of the Greek islands or colonies. In a wider sense, the name embraces all nations. This is what they use. This is what they use. So when they see the term Greek, they'll say, yeah, the term Greek represents all nations. Which this is far from the truth, okay? Because this Greek right here is representing who? Israelites, okay? Greek-speaking Jews, if you will. Israelites that were Hellenized in the Greek, Hellenized by the Greeks. Okay? Conform to the way of the ways and the customs of the Greeks and have been, persecuted into conforming into the ways of the Greeks. I'm talking about, because you had some, we'll get it, Lord willing, some have that conformed to the way of the Greeks by their own, and you had a lot of us that were persecuted to conform to the ways of the Greeks, Hellenized, if you will, right? So it says, in a wider sense, the name embraces all nations, not Jews that made the language, right? It says, not Jews that made the language, customs, and learning of the Greeks their own. But it is speaking of those Greeks. It is speaking of the Greek-speaking Jews, okay? The Israelites that were still looked at as Gentiles. The Israelites that were still looked at as, uncircumcised. Greeks, especially by whom? The ones of the circumcision. The ones that were still in the land. Right? So let's continue. So let's read that again, the book of Galatians, chapter 3, verse 28. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female. For ye are all one in a Mashiach Yahushai. Why? Because these are all Israelites. Even when we go to the NIV, there is neither Jew nor Gentile. Still going back to Israelites. People will say, well, how? It says Gentile because you had Israelites that were in what? A Gentile state of mind. Let's get 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles. Ye were Gentiles, carried away into these dumb idols, even as ye were led. Okay? So clearly it shows that we went astray from our power. Alright? And you had a lot of Israelites that went astray from their heritage. Okay? Now we know that in the scriptures it says, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 4, that we will discontinue. Okay? That we will discontinue from our heritage. But like I said before, you had some, that conformed willingly, but you had some that had to conform by the persecution. Not to mention you had a lot of Israelites that, died for their true power because they refused to worship false deities. They refused to keep the strange laws that these different heathen was trying to put on us. Specifically speaking of, the Greeks at the moment, dealing with Antiochus Epiphanes. Okay? The scripture says, ye know that you were Gentiles, carried away into these dumb idols, even as you were led. Now let's go to the book of, I just slipped my mind. I believe it's in Ephesians. Boom. The book of Ephesians chapter 2 verse 11 says, wherefore, remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. That at the time you were without the Mashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers. What? They became strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without the Most High in the world. But now in the Mashiach, Yahushai, ye were sometimes or afar off, made nigh by the blood of a Mashiach. You see? Let's read verse 13 again. But now in the Mashiach Yahushai, ye whom sometimes were far off, are made nigh by the blood of a Mashiach. For he is our peace, who have made both one and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us. Okay, so that's all I wanted to get for that, but just to show you that these were Israelites that were in the Gentile state of mind. It tells you that they were aliens from being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenant of promise, having no hope without the Most High. Okay, these were Israelites, but now they're being made. Okay, now they are Slakia. Now they were made nigh by the blood of a Mashiach. Okay, and these Israelites in the New Testament that are being called Gentiles, that are being called Greeks, that are being called Grecians, are the same Israelites that are being allowed and being made to come back in through what? Not just through the blood of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, but also through faith. Okay, through the faith. I forget what that scripture is. So let's continue. I'm gonna make about two more points. We can end it off, but it's not gonna be long. What is that? Romans 11? If I'm not mistaken. Yep. No. They're looking for. Here we go. Yeah. Romans 11 verse 16. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy, and if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and the fatness of the olive tree. Right? So who is being grafted in? These are Israelites being grafted in, not no heathen, not no other nation. Israelites. Okay? Verse 18, it says, boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee, thou wilt say, then the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Well, because unbelief, they were broken off, and thou standest by faith, be not high-minded, but fear. Yeah, so this is speaking of the Israelites' foreigners being brought back in. Okay? And they were being brought back in through faith. Now, the branches that were broken off, this is talking about whom? It's talking about the Jews. Okay? They are the ones that was broken in. And their Israelite foreigners, the Gentiles, so to speak, were what? Being engrafted back in. Okay? So I read verse 20 again. Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if the Most High spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Okay? So that's all I wanted to get, with people dealing with the engrafting. This engrafting is dealing with whom? Israelites. Okay? Israelites can be grafted in. Can't no heathen be grafted in. Grafted in this wild olive tree. Because it's still an olive tree. You can't put no try to engraft in a pear tree with the olive tree. No. Okay. So let's read Salakia. I know I kind of went off topic a little bit. So let's read this again one more time. The book of Galatians, chapter 3. Verse 28 says, there is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Mashiach Yahushai. Now, we got to go get it. So let's go to First Maccabees, right? We're just gonna get the points. First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 10, it says, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus or Antiochus, the king who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in 137th year, Salakia, of the kingdom of the Greeks. So we're establishing that this is speaking of the Greek kingdom, of whom he's running or operating. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we had much sorrow. So remember when I spoke of Israelites that willingly conformed? Well, here you go. You're seeing, this is what you're seeing take place. Okay, Israelites that conformed, all right, willingly. But not only did they conform willingly and want to do it, but they try to persuade the others to do so as well, or they was persuading others to do so as well. Verse 12, so this device pleased them well. Then certain of their people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Okay, so what am I reading? What are we witnessing here? Okay, you are witnessing Israelites, okay, becoming Gentiles, okay, becoming Gentiles. This is what we're witnessing here. Right? What did they do again? And made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. So this is what they started to do. They started to follow the customs and the ways of the heathen, of the ways of the Greeks. Right? Let alone, let's jump a little further up. Let alone when we jump to verse 41, it says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificing to idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers and unto Jerusalem and cities of Judah, that they shall follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath days and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable, and with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. You see this? So you see what is taking place? This is Hellenization, right? And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. All right, so this is what the Hellenization is about, okay? Of you conforming into their customs, into their way of life, okay? And this is what happened to many of our people, and this went on for a while. And like I said before, you had some Jake that conformed to it, and you had some Jake, right, willingly, but you had some Jake that was persecuted to conform to it. It was either keep this way or you die, right? Let me see. Yep, 51, it says, in the self-same manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could fly to succor. And I want to jump down a little further. Okay, let me see. I want to jump to 62. I don't want to make this too long. Skip a few verses. So it says, howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing, wherefore they chose rather to die, and they might not be defiled with meat, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died, and there was a very great wrath upon Israel. So you had Israelites that said, the hell with that. Okay, I'm not going to bow down my knee to the image of Baal, so to speak, right? You know, just like you want to have Israelites in this day and age, it's going to say, you know what? I'm not going to worship the image and the beast. Okay, I'm not going to worship the image of the beast. Neither am I going to take the mark of the beast. Okay, and we know he is going to come down with what? Great wrath. He already said in scriptures that what? You know, you're going to have men beheaded for the witness and the testimony of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Right? It says that in Revelation, the 20th chapter. So we see these things starting to play out all over again. All right, with, you know, each trying to make everyone one people. Okay, this get down or lay down type of spirit. You either conform or you die, because that's what he's going to come with. Okay, and we know that. So that's why we got to be built up through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. But going back into the point of this lesson was, I'm showing you of what took place, of why in the scriptures you got Israelites being mentioned, you know, as Gentiles, and Israelites that's being mentioned as Greeks and as Grecians or as uncircumcised. You see? Because these are the things that were taking place. Now, kind of windy out here. What did I want to get? Slipped my mind. Oh yeah, Slovakia. So I wanted to get this real fast. Hellenization. Alright. It says Hellenization, other British spelling Hellenization, or Hellenism, is the historical spread of ancient Greek culture, religion, and to a lesser extent language over foreign peoples conquered by Greeks, right? Now, when people take over a nation, what do they usually do to them? They conquer them to the fullest. They make them learn their language. They make them learn their laws. That's what they do. It says, language over foreign peoples conquered by the Greeks or brought up into their sphere of influence, particularly during the Hellenistic period following the campaigns of Alexander the Great in the 4th century, yada, yada, yada. But we get the point because we know it was going into, that wicked root, Antiochus Epiphanes. Okay, so, that's just the point I wanted to get, kind of straight off topic a little bit. But the point is, only the Israelites are being engrafted in, okay? The Israelites are being called Greeks, Grecians, Gentiles, uncircumcised. When you deal with salvation, that's for Israel only. Mercies for Israel only. You see? Because in his video with the vocab in him, he tried to say, his buddy tried to say, we know that the Lord is always faithful, to his people Israel, but somehow the other nations can now be involved within our salvation. The hell up out of here with that madness. So Lord willing, was edifying. Until next time, I want to say shalom.